This is a Hot Pie Original.
Hi, and welcome to the Amy Edwards Show. I'm your host, Amy Edwards. I am so stoked to be here and that you're here. I know I say that every time, but I mean it every time. And today's guest is Rafael Lovato Jr. And I am just beyond excited to share this conversation. It is so damn good, you guys. Cannot wait for you to hear it. And he shares so much, not only about martial arts, just about the lessons in life and shifting your perspective. And I'm so just pumped. And big thanks to him. Remember that you can find him at Lovato Jr. BJJ for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So Lovato Jr. BBJ on Instagram. That's a great way to find him. And he's going to have a book coming out in the future. So I highly recommend following him. And he's just a total badass who is disciplined, but so well-versed in the art of life. So that said, let's get on with the show and let's get to my portion. Remember to rate, review, subscribe, all the good stuff if you can. It really matters to us podcasters. And also share with a friend if you feel called at the end of this episode. I'm just so appreciative that you're here. So thank you. Let's do this. So hi and welcome. I have been talking a lot about getting conscious of our habits and thinking a lot about what we're actually doing all the time. And I think that as we do that, can we start to shift how we look at everything? And what I mean by that is, I think, as I've developed this show, so you can put this in any context, is what I'm thinking. So whether it's work, or your relationship, your kids, whatever it is, or a dream that you've got, or just posting on Instagram. Seriously, you'll see what I mean in a second. But whatever it is, how can we shift our perspective a little bit in the habits that we're doing and the things that we're doing? And for me, as I've developed this show, I've been in a bit of a stuck mindset around all the tedium, if you want to call it that, or just, I shouldn't call it that. All the facets and aspects that go with it, which is pulling up links, posting on the story, posting on Instagram, sending out a newsletter, the minutia, the day-to-day, and the other moving parts that go into this, which thank God I'm here at Hot Pie and I don't have to handle the editing, the production, the everything. And it would not be on video if that was the case, as it hasn't been for years. So taking all these parts and shifting into another way of looking at them. And that's what I've just had to do. I just had to force myself this week. I was like, I can't continue to think of these things that I have to do all the time. So maybe for you, it's like feeding your kids. I don't know, because that's a monotonous chore. And how do I not think of it as a chore anymore? And how do I shift my mindset and think of it as fun and think of it as something I get to do rather than something I have to do? And that's kind of hard because still it can be a drag sometimes when you have these things that you feel like you have to do. Like, I don't know about you, but posting on Instagram, and I talk to people about this every now and then. I'm like, oh, I got to post. And they're like, oh yeah. It just can feel like a real drag. So how can we shift our mind into making it something we love to do and we get to do? And I don't know that I've got it quite sorted out yet, except like I talk about today with Rafael, like making it a practice of faking it till you make it, like really just going into, no, you know what? I get to do this. I love to do this. I love to share that message. And I think for me too, it's about, and this is something he talks about too, it's about honoring that other person or honoring the situation and honoring maybe that other person's voice. Like, I know this a couple episodes ago with Satsang, that's really when I started to have this shift. And like, and with Caitlin, both freaking amazing episodes. But I really was like, she deserves this. And so do I. And sometimes I think when we go, okay, well, that other person deserves it. Why am I saying that person deserves more than I deserve too? Like, how are we treating ourselves? Are we treating ourselves with the same value? Are we bringing the same value to that? So I was like, no, I'm honoring her by getting this newsletter out finally. And it doesn't mean I dishonored my previous guest, but it just took a minute to get there. And sometimes you don't have all your ducks in a row. You don't have it all done. And then it sat there on my to-do list for fucking months. And I was like, why? What is wrong with me that I'm not doing this? You know, then you start to question yourself, get down on yourself. And then it's just like this spiraling thing. And I had to shift that perspective and just be like, no, you know what? She's deserving of this. And so am I. And I don't have to make it complicated. I don't have to get up all in my head about it. I can just enjoy the moment. I can just trust that I'm doing the best I can in this moment. And if there's a typo, or if I spill something while you're, making the meal, or because, I know during the pandemic, some of the kids have been staying home. So you're making 3 meals a day or whatever you're having to do, whatever it is you're having to do. Can we find that space to say, I'm getting to do this? I'm getting to drive there again and pick up whatever I need to pick up. I'm getting to do this. I know that's a big ask for a lot of things that seem like chores, damn chores. But if we're going to truly live in the moment and we're going to truly find joy and happiness and bliss, it seems like a positive shift in our mindset. So that's what I want to put out there as my message today. Even today, Rafael came in and this interview was planned. He's just in town for a very short time in Austin. And I really didn't expect it. I wasn't really prepared. And I was like, okay, well, I'm nervous. I went into it nervous. We hadn't met before. And so I had to really summon the trust that I've done enough to prepare just as a podcaster, as an interviewer, and as a human to have a conversation with somebody, which I mean, we can all have a conversation. It's just, can we do it under lights with a microphone in our face and a camera, right? And so, I just had, and one that, is being recorded and then everybody's going to listen to. And so can you relax into that? I had to shift out of those nerves and into a flow state and into presence and into a get to, rather than a, oh my God, what do I do? So where can we find those spaces as we got conscious, like we've talked about in the last few episodes? Where can I find those spaces where maybe I can shift it? And for me, it's like my damn to-do list, which y'all know I love my to-do list. I love it. And so, but at the same time, I flog myself on that damn thing. I write the same thing down day after day that I don't get done. How can I shift out of that and be like, ooh, I get to? And even like, I've had money stuff going on right now. And today in my meditation, I was like, oh, I get to figure out how to pay my rent. Yay. I mean, what a weird shift that is. I get to pay my taxes. I get to figure it out. That's a big one for me. That one's a leap. That one might be a fake it till you make it. But I've been in a pretty good mood and headspace. I think just because I'm working on my self-care. And so it came easier. So maybe get those self-care pieces in place. And then maybe those are going to come a little bit easier in those really hard spaces like, oh, fuck, money stress. Oh, wow. Money challenges that I get to learn from and figure out. I know. Why not? Why not? It's part of the grand experiment. That is us. That is this life. That is why the fuck not? I've been doing it the hard way for so long. Why not try like this? Why not? Shifting that perspective. All right. I am so excited to bring this interview with Rafael Lovato Jr. It is so good. And I'm so honored because we wrapped up and he said, I think that was my best podcast I've ever done. And I was like, nearly fell on the floor. I'm just thrilled. And I mean, especially after nerves, I told everybody in this room too, the whole crew, thank you guys too. I was like, please envision us walking out of here just feeling so fucking good and that it was so good, so powerful, what needs to be said, the message. So just those, even those touches, when you know somebody else is envisioning it. And I know Joseph was like, I can't imagine it going any other way. And I was like, well, fuck yeah. And so where can we even bring those? When you need to reach out, don't be scared. Just say it to people, voice it. Say, hey, get on my wavelength and let's all just envision this because I need all the help I can get at this moment. And they'll be like, yeah, because I know that envisioning for somebody else is so easy for me rather than envisioning for myself. It's like easier. Of course you're going to do great. Of course you are. Hell yeah. Yeah, you're going to nail it. Okay, so anyway, that occurred, I guess is the point. And it is, there's so much that we touch on in this that it's too much to mention. And we just jumped right in and it just flowed so effortlessly and beautifully. And he has a way with words. And I'm excited that he has a book coming out either later this year or early next year that he's been working on. And he's so expresses himself so well. And I can't think of the eloquent. There's some irony there that I couldn't think of that word. He's so eloquent in expressing martial arts and the art of it. And I just can't wait for you to listen. Even if you think, oh, I'm not really interested because he's a quote unquote fighter or mixed martial artist or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu master, you're going to learn a lot. I did. And I'm just so stoked. So let's get on with Rafael. Again, you can find him at Lovato Jr. BJJ on Instagram. That's a really good spot to find him. And then, of course, we've got links to everything and everything that we talk about in the show notes. Stick around to the end because I always like to do a little wrap up, a little something practical that we can talk about. And today we're going to talk about some books, what I'm reading, how I read, and touch on what Rafael talks about too with a book. So stick around for that and let's get to the interview.
I don't have the pretty gold ones. Like you.
I know, mine are blinging. I'm a little flashy. And so I bring my own headphones.
Everyone has to have their own style, their own swag. Uh-huh. That's something that I talk about with my guys, especially my competition teams.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You got to have your, like I said, your own swag, and you have to transform into that whenever you're competing, because like
Beyonce with Sasha Fierce or something.
Yeah, you gotta be your own little superhero. You have to feel invincible out there.
What's yours?
Well, I don't have a character.
No, but what's your swag? Like, do you go into a mindset or something, or what is it?
Oh, I mean, it's a combination of a lot of stuff. But it really just comes down to confidence, and just kind of feeling like I'm right where I'm supposed to be, doing what I love. And I was made to do this and it's my time to shine,
I do know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's overcoming, that helps you get past that fear.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And how did you get to that point? Did you have the times where you weren't doing that? And then what did that show you? What went on in your head? How did you push into that?
Well, I mean, it's natural for everybody to have, fears and doubts and, those things that pop into your head, that little negative, like self-doubt and that conversations that can come into your mind.
I do that all the time.
Right. Right. And of course in martial arts, like, if you're getting ready for something, and you're going to compete or fight or something like that, it can creep in during your training camp, as you're preparing, if you have a rough day and you're not really as sharp or, your technique or your training just wasn't that good that day, those negative thoughts can start to creep in. And so, it's something that you have to train on a daily basis. You don't just show up on the day of the event and say, okay, I'm the champion. I'm going to be the champion.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be the champion every single day.
I love that. It's a practice, just like anything else.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have to practice. You have to drill it. And it takes repetition, from the moment you wake up to the time you go to bed. Every time you look in the mirror, what are you saying to yourself? What are you saying to yourself on your way to the training, in between rounds, during the round, all the time. And so then you can make it more of a habit. And once it becomes a habit, when you show up on game day, it's just like, all right, I'm doing this is the fun part now.
You just read my mind, because I've been trying to shift into not only thinking like, okay, build these good habits, but like recognizing that the negative self-talk and all those little negative things that we call all these other things, those are just habits too. And they're so much easier to slip into, those negative habits. But when I view them all as habits, it's kind of easier to break into like, okay, this habit isn't serving me. And how can I shift this into something that is serving me? And I know you started MMA late for a fighter. And, you were Jiu-Jitsu, right? And then, and if I get anything wrong, please correct me.
No problem.
So you started late. I was a late starter in the things that I've done too. And there's just an amount of like overcoming that fear and those negative thoughts, habits, whatever you want to call them. Also, so I'm curious, like how you dealt with that, and especially, I know we want to talk about what's going on with your cavernoma in your brain as well. So I'm leaving that kind of open ended where you want to start with that.
Okay, well, let's just question at a time.
Okay.
As far as like dealing with those negative thoughts, first off, it's normal. Like, I think many times people can beat themselves up a little bit and maybe, I'm the only one doing this kind of thing. Like the whoever they look up to, or that world champion, or that successful entrepreneur, or whoever it may be. Like, they didn't have to go through that too, and you still deal with it. I mean, it doesn't stop. It's normal. So just like kind of accepting that that's normal, and understanding that it's only how you respond to it that's what matters, and so every time something like that happens, every bit of adversity, every tough moment, every difficulty, every temporary failure, every moment where you're questioning and those what ifs and whatever comes into your mind is an opportunity. You just got to look at it as something that can be positive. All right, this is an opportunity. How do I deal with this? How do I respond? And this is very much from a martial arts upbringing. To me, martial arts is very much problem solving, and it's very internal, and so how do I respond? How do I respond when you get put in a tough position, or you get hit in the face really hard, or, if you respond emotionally, you get frustrated and you sort of break down and you get angry or whatever, you're only going to end up making more mistakes and, or possibly wearing yourself out by just not being efficient with your energy. And then things only get worse, And so I just take that and apply it to life. And, every time those tough situations happen and those things start to creep into your mind, it's like, okay, how am I going to respond to this? How can I respond to this? I can go this way or I can go that way. And, you just try to breathe, stay relaxed, and make the best decision possible. And, see it as that opportunity. And it's like, if I can train myself to go the positive way, I'm only going to get stronger, and then as you get more and more strong, and you develop that strength, it doesn't affect you as much. You feel like, okay, I can handle this. I can handle that and the next thing and the next thing. And it's just empowering, and then, like I said, you keep working on that, training it, and doing the repetitions, and you get stronger and stronger. So then, when big things happen in big moments, right? Career defining moments or whatever, there's smaller events, smaller tournaments, and then there's the world championships, right? And it's all kind of a buildup. And the more you train and develop those skills on the smaller things when it comes time for the big moment. And it's the world championship finals, or you're in the world title fight and it's 2 rounds to 2 rounds. How are you
like
gonna,
you?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to respond when it comes to that 5th round? And if I didn't have those adversities or those tough moments coming up and all those other things that help me develop that positive reaction,
Mm-hmm.
It
It makes you grateful for those little spots too, because suddenly you're like, those honed me into this moment and this, what I can bring to it. Do you have a gratitude practice?
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, I say, you say practice. For me, it's just like kind of like lifestyle,
Yeah. You have a gratitude lifestyle?
Yeah.
I
feel that way.
I feel like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what does that look like for you? What does that mean?
I've had so many moments where it really like, I've had a feeling of destiny, of like, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, people that I've met and come across through my career, my journey, they become family. And so it's just being able to recognize and see, like Justin, for example,
mm-hmm.
right? It was so random how it all happened. This guy just randomly messages me, blah, 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 blah. And then boom, comes into my life. And it's kind of, interesting. And you see his story. I wasn't totally familiar with who he was and kind of knew a little bit, but then, there he is. And it's just like being able to recognize that this isn't an accident, and immediately build a strong relationship, and kind of, I don't want to say take advantage, but see, the opportunity. And it's like, oh man, here's someone that, I can learn from, mm-hmm. and opens up other opportunities and doors and gives me inspiration.
Just allowing it to bring what it's supposed to bring. Is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah. And I feel like I get that so much because I get to connect with people through my craft, my passion. I give a piece of myself whenever I'm teaching and sharing and talking to you, like right now in this kind of moment. And now we're going to be connected, and so, I'm going to be feeling very grateful for the rest of my day for talking with you and getting to meet you and hanging out with Pygmy. And, it's kind of never ending for me. That's basically what every day of my life gets to be.
Me too. And I think that I've just tried to hone that like practice just to stay conscious of it. And once you start to stay conscious of it, it's just like what you were talking about with the day to day. You're just building and getting stronger and taking those little steps to train your mind into thinking and not forgetting that piece of the spiritual equation. Right.
I think exactly what you said, being grateful is just a conscious state of mind. At the end of the day, no matter what's going on, I think we can all find something to be grateful for if you really try. And it's just kind of recognizing it, finding it, recognizing it, and then living inside of that a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, at the end of the day, if I'm able to get up and move and get on the mats, put my gi on, tie my belt, get on the mats and, do what I love with people that I love. It's a good day.
It is. So, and we forget that so easily. I wanted to backtrack just a tiny bit too. When you were talking about how you felt destiny, I just wondered, there's probably a lot of people that listen to you that feel lost and don't know their destiny or don't have it figured out. And I just wondered what you say to them, like when somebody feels that way. Do you have a thought about that, or what you say when somebody says, how do you find it? How do I do that?
Well, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, every difficult moment leads you to the next thing, so if you feel a little lost, okay, well, I'm in a place where I'm going to get on track. It's taking me somewhere. I mean, last year, for example, we were all pretty lost.
Yep.
I think last year, right? I had some big major ups and downs for myself, career wise, personally with the health thing and all that kind of stuff. And definitely had some kind of like, those moments where you're in your head and you're like, man, what is going on? It feels like things are getting taken away from me and I don't deserve that or whatever. Like, I made my way back into jiu-jitsu competition after several years away being focused on MMA. And, in MMA, I had just basically climbed the mountain. I was at the peak. I became a world champion and things were so great. And then, I couldn't do that anymore for at least a period. That's not going to happen. And in order to keep challenging myself and having something to push me, because I have a very strong competitive nature in everything that I do. And so I said, all right, I want to go back to jiu-jitsu. That's all I can do competition wise. I'm going to go back to jiu-jitsu and compete in jiu-jitsu. And, it's not easy to go back to jiu-jitsu after years away and compete against the best guys now at this time. And I had some good wins, but I also had some very tough losses. It had been a decade since I had been submitted in competition.
Wow.
And I got submitted twice last year.
Ooh.
Coming back to jiu-jitsu. And, I'm not going to lie, like those were really tough moments, emotional moments where I was up here in MMA. I had just, reached the top. And then I go back to this other sport where I made all my history and, really solidified myself. And then I'm kind of back, I'm not at the bottom by any means, but I'm not the world champion that I used to be.
Humbling.
And it was, it was. And, I had some tough moments for sure, but, even inside of all that and my school being closed and, those tough losses, still some very great things came to me, in that time because of my consciousness and kind of zeroing in on a new purpose, okay, what can I do now? What's my vision now? What's my future look like?
How down do you get in those tough moments? Like what is like?
I get down.
You do?
Yeah. I do. I mean, we all do.
It's human. I'm just curious because
I get down, but I don't get down for too long.
Me too. I'm the same way. I kind of can't because I have kids and I feel like that forces you.
Yeah.
But I'm the same way. I get down and I talk about it on this show, but I'm like, it's just speed it up. Like, be down for a minute and allow yourself that moment. And then, okay, how are you getting out of it?
Yeah.
Because you can't stay here forever.
My kids are my students. And I can't go in front of the class, or if maybe it was a Zoom class at that time or whatever. I can't, teach and be down. I'm like, all right, guys, let's work on this stuff here. You have to have an energy, and that helps me make the switch a lot because it's like fake it till you make it, and then sometimes it becomes real.
Well, then that's almost like training. Like it is.
It's the training that I was talking about.
It's training.
To practice. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And then it picks me back up, and you put it out there, and then it comes back to you. You put that positive energy out there, it goes into them, and then it comes right back to you, and then you're charged back up. And so I'm like, all right, and
then you can have more perspective to see the lessons and whatever, the submit or, the things that you went through that were really challenging you. Yes.
And then at the end of the day, like I said, some very great things came to me in those moments. And now we're back, the business is going well. I ended the year strong. This year is off to a great start, like competition wise. And I feel great, and it's like, now I can be grateful for those tough moments and everything I went through last year and feel like, this is going to be a great year. Some great things are happening. And, at the end of the day, every loss, every temporary failure, those downs lead you.
I like that you did that in quotes too. Let me just add.
And there is no real failure.
I don't believe in failure really. Like even our brains lead us to that. But
it gets you to the next stage. It gets you to the next point. So
Listen,
at the end of the day, just stay positive. Stay positive. Wherever you're at, use it to catapult you to the next stage.
Yes, for sure. So how have you found gratitude with it's not a brain injury, the cavernoma, it's a brain condition.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, issue condition. So have you found gratitude with that? Can you find a gratitude space with that? I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Number one, I can be very grateful that I'm asymptomatic up until now. Just this week, I'm very grateful to have made a new friend through Pygmy.
Justin Rizvani.
Yes.
I heard his story. It was astonishing that we meet him in the same week that you're here.
Yes. And he has the same condition and his nearly took his life. And so I can be very grateful that, my condition, the status of my condition has not taken me to that place yet. I have not had to have emergency brain surgery and been on the operation table and have that 6-month crazy recovery and everything that he had to go through. So that's bottom line number one. I'm still here, and we should all be grateful for being here. And so there's that gratitude. And the situation that I was in where I discovered that I had this brain condition right before my world title fight, which put me in a place of why is this happening to me? Why does it have to be now? Because it was very uncertain whether or not I was even going to get to do that fight, because I was struggling to find a doctor that would say it's okay for me to fight. And basically there was a month-long period where I discovered I had the condition 6 weeks before the fight, and all the way until 2 weeks before the fight, did I not know whether or not I was going to get to fight. So 2 weeks before the fight, I finally got approved, and it's like, okay, you're going to fight. You're okay to fight. So there was the main month of training camp where every day was uncertain. I didn't know if I was going to get to fight or not. And I was also just struggling to understand this condition and learn about it and figure out, am I just kind of slowly killing myself by getting hit in the head? Like, should I even continue fighting? Like, do I talk to my family about this? What do I how do I navigate through this? Like, what do I do? And needless to say, my training was terrible. I wasn't sleeping. I was very emotional. Was not confident. I couldn't focus. And
wow,
my training camp was not terrible, but it was the worst camp I ever had. And I ended up getting injured. And anyways,
of course,
yeah,
like when you're in that, yeah,
right.
Keep going. Sorry.
Well, the fight itself, my opponent was a huge favorite. He's one of the best of all time in that weight class. And, he's kind of a legend, middleweight, but he also fought at both. He was a world champion at light heavyweight and middleweight. Okay. And he had over 50 fights. He was like 45-6 or something like that,
Damn.
So
yeah.
Like I said, one of the best of all time in that category. And it was my 10th fight, so I hadn't even had 10 fights yet. And he's had over 50. You're
not even in double digits.
Right. He's the world champion. I'm the challenger, so I'm a big underdog. And, then there I am dealing with all this stuff. But when we finally got approved, the gratitude was through the roof. Just grateful for the opportunity to be able to get in that cage and have my chance to become a world champion and have my chance to fight one of the best, just have the opportunity. I was extremely grateful for.
Was there still an underlying fear though? That like, am I going to go in there and die or something? Or were you kind of like, no, I've been doing this a while.
I let go of all that.
That's impressive.
You accept it. And then, whether you have the condition or not, it's not ideal to get head trauma. Everyone's taking a risk when they get in that cage. There's a little bit of an extra risk in my case, but we discovered through seeing doctors that risk is very, very small. And,
cool.
things could change for me and I could end up like Justin. But that could happen at any point in time. And there's no direct evidence suggesting that getting hit in the head is going to make it happen sooner or anything like that. So anyways, the way it all worked out. All right. And this is perfect because I had this quote on the back of my t-shirt, but 2 weeks before the fight, we got approved. We get there, we finish. Now, fast forward, I'm backstage and we're starting to warm up and getting ready to, make the walk to the cage and do the fight. So I take this book with me for every single one of my fights. And it's called Think and Grow Rich. I'm sure you've heard of it. Napoleon Hill. It's kind of like the very first self-help motivational style book that was ever made. And most of the self-help stuff that you see today is kind of stems from that. It's kind of the original. And
damn, I got to read it.
Yeah, it's powerful. It was life-changing for me. And so I always take that book with me. And I had the flap of the book inside, saved on a page. And so, I hadn't opened it up the whole time we were in London. The fight was in London. I hadn't opened it up yet, but I put it in my bag. I take it to the fight, backstage, getting ready. We're just in the quiet before the storm, right? And I was like, okay, it's time to take out my book. And I always read through a couple chapters just to get my mind right. And I open up the book and the flap, right where the flap was, it was saved on a page where the very first thing that I saw was this underlined part that I'd already, underlined before. And it read, every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent advantage. Every adversity carries with it the seed of equivalent advantage. And it hit me right then and there. Everything that I had gone through in that camp to get me to that point, to like the hardest fight of my life was just not giving up in that camp because I had doctor after doctor after doctor telling me, no, you shouldn't fight. No one would sign off on me to go into that world title fight. No doctor would clear me, but I didn't stop. I kept seeing doctor after doctor. And it was literally the last doctor possible that said, yeah, I think it's fine for you to fight, and wrote the letter that got me approved to fight. And all that day to day, just stress and emotion and that was the hardest fight of my life. And getting through all that and staying positive and just getting to the fight was already the hardest fight of my life. And so in that moment, it hit me. It was like everything that I went through then prepared me for what I'm about to go through now in this cage. And it's going to be my advantage. I want to be here more than what my opponent does.
The world championship is not even your hardest fight.
No. And I want it more. Yeah. Like I've given everything to be here. No one knows what I went through to be here. And that's going to be my advantage. And it just hit me. And I kind of got a little teary eyed. And then I looked up and I see my father. My father's, he's in my cage or in my corner for all my fights. I see my closest martial arts brothers, that are in my corner, and I see them all, and they really helped me get through everything to get to this point. To keep me seeing doctor after doctor and everything that we went through. And I was just like, and I got a little teary eyed, and I smiled, and I looked at them, and I said, I said, we're gonna win. And I get emotional just talking about it.
I feel it.
I just knew we're going to win. And then the fight was a really hard fight. But when it came down to that fifth round, I knew that I was ready to give everything I had and make that last round my best round. Last round, best round. And it happened. And so at the end of the day, I don't know if I would have won that fight without what I went through with my brain condition. And there's more gratitude. And then it comes to find out that the cavernoma awareness. So I started doing some research, and I wanted to create awareness. When I went on the Joe Rogan show a year ago, I wanted to bring some awareness to this condition, because a lot of people like Justin,
Justin was funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably, they have it, but they don't know it. It's not as rare as what people think. And it might never not be an issue until it's a big issue.
Until it is.
And you might not know what's going on with your body or your health unless you get a brain scan done and just know whether or not there's something up there or not. The same way you get a physical, you get blood work, you see the dentist, and you do all those things to take care of yourself and know if there's an issue or not. How many people get a brain scan done in their life to know, it's not done until there's a problem. And so that was part of my thing. So I was just like wanting to create awareness and try to help people through this. And then I discovered that the Cavernoma Awareness Month is June. June is the month of my birthday. June is the same month that I fought for the world title. And the color, the ribbon that you wear to support Cavernoma Awareness Month is red. Red is my favorite color. Red.
I knew you were going to say red for some reason.
Is my logo. And red is when you're the champion, you wear the red gloves in MMA. And so there's all these things that were just like, man, once again, this is destiny. I have this for a reason. You can be sad about it or whatever. It's keeping you from fighting, or you can see that there's an opportunity to bring awareness, and try to be positive about it. Big Pygmy, he's done so many things like that, telling his story, and bring positivity through those hardships and trying to make a difference, and that's all we can do.
I know. And there's a big element of just realizing that when these big things do happen and we go, why, that we can step into like trust that we will know the answer someday. Do you feel that?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Do you feel like you gained that? Like if something else were to come along, you'd be like, I'll know. Like I can trust that there is a reason.
You might not know right away.
Usually we don't.
Right. Yeah.
Like same with the pandemic and everything. We don't know why,
Right.
But I feel like if I can lean into that trust, that's been a big lesson for me as I get older, and just leaning into like, you're going to know sometime,
Yeah.
You'll have the answer to the why.
Yeah. For me, everything goes back to martial arts. Like, the way I live life, or I've learned to live, one of the things that I like to say in regards to being a martial artist is you live to learn. Being a forever student, you live to learn, and through that, you learn to live. So you live to learn to live. So you learn how to live and trust. If you're in a fight, if you're going into the cage, I have to trust my training. I have to trust the people that I'm with, that we did the best work possible, and the game plan, the strategy, my skills. You have to trust your instincts. You have to trust that if you feel like you need to move here or do this or do that, then do it. Because if you hesitate, that can be your downfall. And so trust 100%. And that's part of letting go.
I do.
When you walk into that cage, there's such this raw, pureness of having to let go. You're very vulnerable. You're super vulnerable. You might get knocked out in front of a worldwide television audience and the people sitting in, it could be one of the most humiliating moments of your life. It has that potential, and you have to let go. You have to just, okay, I'm going to trust that no matter what happens in there, I'm going to do the right thing because I've prepared myself for this. And that's part of that. This is what I'm made to do. There's no place I'd rather be. And it's time to show who I am and show my work and let it go. Just let it go. And so you learn how to trust in yourself and trust those around you, trust the advice. If my corner tells me to do something, I'm going to do it because I trust them, and that goes down to the people that you surround yourself with. And trust is very, very important.
Me too. It's been my big thing, like lately. And the broader lesson in that is just it extends out into your personal life, like say your love relationship or whatever, because there's so much vulnerability there. But it's that learning to live thing, right? You're getting that broader lesson to learn to live and apply those. Have you seen? I'm sure you've seen those. You've seen those in every aspect, probably with your kids that you train, your students, and in your love relationship. I'm sure, right? Do you find that spill over?
Oh yeah, for sure,
big time,
for sure.
Yeah.
For me, I know I keep saying it, martial arts.
No, I'm glad.
That's part of.
That's who you are.
Well, and it's part of what I feel is my purpose.
Yes.
If I can, in something like this where I'm sure your audience isn't a bunch of fighters, right?
That's okay. I really enjoy learning about it and it's such good lessons.
Well, and like going back to what I feel is my purpose, if I talk about it, maybe someone out there listening is going to say, I want to give martial arts a try.
I already thought during this, I was like, I think I need to take up jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. That's my goal. That's what I say. That's part of my purpose. Or maybe they want to put their children in martial arts and try jiu-jitsu or something like that. That's what I'm trying to spread. But being a true martial artist, first it starts as being a student. And through being a student, you're already challenging yourself to go into that environment, make yourself vulnerable, be a white belt. You may be a successful entrepreneur. You may, have a master's degree and already be up here in your world. But then when you start something new and you walk into those mats, you're just a white belt. And there might be some kid over there who knows nothing about really much, but knows a lot about jiu-jitsu, and all of a sudden they're above you, and so it's a very vulnerable place to be. And, you're kind of, okay, I'm humbling myself. It's very humbling, and I'm going to be a student. I'm going to be a white belt and And then you start to go and you get better. And you go through those ups and downs, just like in life, and you have to stay consistent, because if you take a week off, it's going to show. If you don't, live the lifestyle and really study, you're not going to get a lot better. And so it takes effort, it takes commitment, and then you get better. And then, you may think, I want to challenge myself in competition, at some point. And it's not everybody, but the people that I'm around, I tend to be able to push them to challenge, to get out of your comfort zone. Okay, now you're comfortable in the class environment. Let's get you uncomfortable again and put you in a competition environment. And that's the next piece. And eventually that's going to become comfortable too, but it's going to have levels. You might be comfortable competing as a white belt or a blue belt, but then you get your purple belt, you get your brown belt, you get your black belt, and then it's like new challenges, new comfort levels to break through. And then at some point, the way to bring the circle together is to become a teacher and give back. Start to share your knowledge, what you've learned, how you've applied it to your life, and give a piece of yourself back to the academy, to your teammates, to your training partners, and help them now on their process, on their journey. So you're doing this circle of learning, growing, and giving back over and over. And then it just keeps coming back to you. And then you get better. When you become a competitor, you learn a lot more and it makes you better. When you become a teacher, now you have to learn how to communicate these things. What is your why? Okay, you like to do that move. Great. Why? Why do you do that move versus this guy over here, when he's in that same position, he does a different move? So what is your why? And then I think inside of all of that, you develop a lot of skills. You learn how to understand people, how to communicate better, how people learn, what they what resonates with them. Everyone learns differently. Some people need to feel it. Some people need imagery, and you learn a lot more about yourself and how you operate. Like, martial arts is very pure. You can feel when someone gives up easily, or when they let frustrations take over, when they beat themselves up, you feel it, and so you have to break through a lot of those things. And basically what I'm getting at is, all of that, like you said, I can apply it in life, in relationships. I can stay calm. I can try to breathe. I can try to understand. Okay, who is this person? How do they?
It's like therapy.
How do they communicate?
Yeah.
What is their why? What is their perspective?
Yeah. And
then you can try to see them, and then find common ground. And really, I mean, most of it comes down to communication, and everyone has different communication traits, whether they get triggered by certain things.
Oh, big time.
And you can just you can understand a lot better. It's just all understanding.
I think there's a slowing down that you probably learn with that affects your communication. Because I know just as like doing these and learning how to talk to people in this kind of setting over the years, it's just people ask me how you do it. And I'm like, you know what? You like just slowing down and breathing and listening, really listening and really paying attention. Like I think those are the skills that you really get more keen with when you say, you have
to be in the moment.
Being in the moment.
You have to be in the moment. Martial arts, if I'm training and I'm thinking about how bad of a day I had, or, I bring emotions or something, some sort of lingering thing or a future thing, whatever it may be, if I'm not in the moment, I'm going to get taken apart by my best training partner, because I'm not there.
Your head's not in the game.
And that comes down to communicating. The way we're talking right now, I'm in the moment with you. We're having this exchange, and it's pure. And I mean, we just met and we barely said one sentence to each other before we came here. And so it's pure. And that's what training is. It's me moving my body, and I'm trying to kind of do a soft kill, so to speak. Like when you make someone submit, you make someone tap, they're essentially saying, you got checkmate, you got me, I have to give up because there's no way out, And so that's a very kind of near death experience, right? I mean, especially if it's a choke. If I keep choking you, you're going to go to sleep. And if I never let go, I would kill you, So there's the trust in your training partner. There's the feel, there's the pureness of I'm giving you my energy. I'm making my moves. I have my strategy. It's like a chess game. Every move that I do has a purpose, and it's trying to get me one step closer to making you give up. And we're both trying to do that to each other. And so then there's this love that happens because I can feel you give me your best. I can feel you try to make the best decisions and make the best moves possible. And maybe they work, maybe they don't. And if they do, if you get the better of me, I can say, man, good job. And I know you've just now made me better. I'm going to learn from that. And that's the exchange. That's the pureness. And so, but that comes from being in the moment. We are in the moment with each other. And essentially, if we're really in the moment, if we put our phones down and we really talk to each other and we really try to see each other and be pure with each other, I think at the end of the day, we're going to come to some resolution no matter what the situation may be, But if we have hidden agendas and we have, our own stuff that was built up from our childhood or our experiences or whatever, and we can't really see the other person and be pure with that person, then it's not, you're not really there with me. You're still over here. And so, yeah, being in the moment,
I struggle with those
vulnerable
things, like even you coming in today, I was like, I want to bring my best. I want to, lift his messages as well as I can. And then you just get, no matter what you're doing, whether it's the martial arts or whether it's this or whatever the it is, you go, how do I do that? You
Mm-hmm.
know, and
Mm-hmm.
and like then you'll get up in your head and all that, and it's just back to that trust. Have I done my best leading up to this moment? Yep. Am I going to be present? Yep. And then you just go, all right. Well, then I know that when I come out of this, I've done my best.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and sitting in that space.
And then let's have some fun.
And then let's have some fun.
Yeah. We're having fun.
Yes. Yes. One of my favorite quotes is, oh gosh, I'm forgetting who it is. Maybe you can look it up, Colton. But it's a music artist, a guitar player. And he just said, you know, master your instrument and master the music, and then forget all that shit and just play.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about, have you done the work to lead up to this moment, and can you just be present and trust?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you explained it so well, that art's part of it.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of evaded me a little bit about martial arts as I've started to learn, just being with Justin and stuff, just learning about what exactly it is, because I'm not very educated on martial arts. And so as we were out there, Jim even said about you, you know, he's an artist in motion. He is art in motion, talking about you. And that's really beautiful to look at it from that perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's something that it's getting lost a lot more these days, with the popularity of MMA and the UFC, which is amazing. Don't get me wrong. I love that that's there, because without that, so many people wouldn't be taking their children to start martial arts and join a martial arts school. But there is a lot of people that look at that and say, oh, that's, you know, just like savage, like violence, and you know, they're fighters. To me, to be quite honest, I never really considered myself a fighter. The only fights I've ever had in my entire life are my professional fights. I've never been in one altercation outside of the professional arena. Mm-hmm. You know, the calmness, I have no aggression, you know, very calm, and being able to breathe and relax. Yeah, you have
a real nice, relaxed energy.
Yeah, I'm super mellow, super chill. And so, you know, I've never been in any situation where I felt like I had to fight somebody. Mm-hmm. And that's such a misconception, you know, but there are people who have that aggression, and you know, maybe it's a good thing. Like they use it they harness it, but it's very much, oh, I'm a fighter. For me, I've always been a martial artist, and that's thanks to my father, the way he raised me. He's a martial artist. He's also a musician as well. So, he's a professional organist, mm-hmm. which is super rare. Like,
it's your walkout song too, right?
He was. But to be an organist, like, how many organists have you ever met in your life?
The one in my church growing up, maybe.
Right. And then do you think he fought in his spare time?
No,
you know what I mean?
No.
Right. So he's a special guy. But that's how he raised me. And
I think the words we use matter. So I like mm-hmm. that. I like that, you know, you're conscious about mm-hmm. what you call yourself.
Yeah. And for me, that's the beauty. You know, seeing the artistic side, you know, and Bruce Lee was my father's childhood hero. That's what got him into martial arts. So he naturally became one of my heroes as well. And his philosophy, his mindset was just so beautiful. And, you know, he was very much, I mean, he's obviously one of the, if not the most renowned martial artist that's ever lived. And, he saw it as an art. The art of expressing yourself honestly. Your moves, the way anything is possible in martial arts. There's no like standard format. All right. You're going to learn striking. You're going to learn wrestling and takedowns. You're going to learn jiu-jitsu and ground fighting. But the way that you put it all together and your style in each one of those disciplines, each one of those areas of combat is going to be specific to you, to the way you like to move, to your physical attributes, your body, you know, what you can do and what you can't do and what feels good. At the end of it, it's very specific to you. And that is your expression. That is a piece of who you are. When I was I think the very first thing we're talking about is kind of like finding your swagger.
Yeah, we were.
That's part of that. The way you move, that's you, and you look at it, you take some of the most famous athletes of our time, or whoever that inspired you. If you took Michael Jordan and you made him a silhouette, so you didn't see his facial features, you couldn't see who he actually was, right? You didn't see his face or anything like that, but you just saw this silhouette and the way he moved and the way he flew through the sky, and he would change so many times and then go through all the defenders and somehow make the basket. You would be able to pick that out and say, oh, that's Michael Jordan, right? You would know that's Michael Jordan. If you took Muhammad Ali and you made him a silhouette, you didn't know it was him. You just saw this white thing and he was moving and he was dancing and the footwork and everything.
Yeah.
You would say, oh, that's Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
That's your swag. That's your art. That's you expressing yourself. No two people are going to move the same. And that is what I enjoy the most. And that's where, for me, I call it beautiful violence. It's yes, it's violent, but I'm not trying to be violent. I'm trying to show you my movements and connect them in a way that's just individual to me, and do something beautiful, even though it may be violent. At the end of the day, that is a movement, or whatever it may have been. That is something that I've trained my whole life to do. And that's me. I'm showing you me. And that's where the poetry and the art of it really comes into play. And everyone has that capability in anything. No one's going to talk to another person the way you are. No one's going to do a podcast the way you do it. No one's going to, in any walk of life, you are one of one. You are you, and your experiences and who you are, the way you see things, the way you do things, that's your power. And, that's what I try to do with my students. I'm a teacher, but I'm really more of a guide. I'm showing you what's possible. You can do this. You can do that. You can, move this way or that way. You can play this game or that game. And I'm going to show you how to do it and how to do it successfully. But the way you put it together is going to be you. And I'm just guiding you through that process, and that's where it becomes really fun, because we are a constant masterpiece in the work. In the making. Who I am today as a martial artist is my masterpiece. This is my life's work. This is everything I've put into my whole life. And so that's my the picture that I've painted, or even better, like the clay statue, right?
Sure, yeah.
But the thing is, I'm always throwing new pieces of clay on there and recarving it out, because I'm still learning. I'm always learning, and I'm, my technique is always evolving. The way I see things, the way I communicate, the way my vision of how I do martial arts is always changing. And so as I'm learning and continually evolving, I get to throw new pieces of clay on that statue and recarve it a little differently. And so at any given moment, I am my best self. And that's my masterpiece, from that moment. And you take one of my fights. Okay. At that time, that was my masterpiece, in 2017, on this date, that's the best I could show of myself. But then the next year or whatever, the next fight, now this is a new me, a new masterpiece that I have the opportunity to show. And it never stops, and so we can always show better, do more, be better, keep learning, keep growing. And we're always like this new, beautiful picture that we get to share with everybody.
That resonates with me so much.
Yeah.
That's exactly where my head's been at, because as I've started this show, it was a huge learning experience for me to say, there's not a right way. There's not a wrong way. There's just the way I'm going to do it. And it's going to be original to me. And I'm striving to model that to people, as you are, that your voice is your voice. Your art piece is your art piece. Your masterpiece is you. And there is so much beauty in that. Just like we can find beauty, the beauty of violence, beautiful violence, there is beauty in every single thing. And the way you do it, your original swag, whatever that is, whatever you're going to bring to it through all your learning, is worth sharing with the world. And not to shrink away from that, and not to let our light dim, to shine it out. And you just express that so beautifully. I'm really grateful. And it speaks to my heart immensely. I had a vision last year of, using my voice to model this to the world. And then I visualized whatever, saw everyone in the world with just wings on their own voice and being able to use theirs in their own original way. And it's been a huge learning process for me, but that's part of my own beauty of it, And so,
and it's never ending.
And it's never ending.
That's the exciting part.
I know you're working on something called Timeless Jiu-Jitsu, right? And so I'm really, really up with the concept of that, of the continual learning and not giving up and just not saying, okay, well, I'm done now, or I'm too old for this, just those.
Yeah. Yeah. Then that's the part of martial arts. Like, you're never gonna get to a point where it's like, all right, I got this mastered.
Check.
Yeah, I'm done. There's so much more always. Like, it's always evolving, new innovations. We're never perfect. I can never do everything. Like, there's positions. Like, I'm not going to be balanced in every single position as far as like the way I am successful on bottom versus successful on top, or successful on my right versus my left. If my opponent moves that way versus him moving this way, there's always going to be imbalances that we're trying to balance, and get better at. Like, I'm always going to be reminded of a weakness. And so it can always improve.
A spot for improvement. Yes.
Yes. And so, Timeless Jiu-Jitsu is kind of my thing to try to, the mindset that I want to give and almost like a movement, for martial artists, for especially the jiu-jitsu world. Obviously, that's what I want to give back to them and try to help inspire people and teach and share what I've learned inside that realm. And the bottom line, key number one is being a forever student. And then, inside of that, expanding to competitor, to teacher, and the lifestyle as well, the mindset. I mean, we have to be white belts in other things too. So for example,
what I was thinking.
I just came from On It, and I did a big, like, hour-and-a-half movement mobility session with Francesca and her boyfriend Eric.
Okay.
And we're just moving, like doing mobility and just kind of playing. But that's something that I was a white belt at, and I just like, okay, I want to be a better mover, like yoga, animal flow type stuff. It's almost like shadow jiu-jitsu. And then a couple of days ago, I was with Leo, who's the steel mace flow, like just, he's the samurai when it comes to the mace.
I love the mace.
The mace. Yeah. And that's another form of movement, but now you're moving with this heavy mace and you're flowing. And basically what I'm getting at is, I've been able to take that martial arts mindset to say, okay, someone could look at that and say, oh, well, how's that going to make you better at jiu-jitsu? That's not jiu-jitsu. I want to just do jiu-jitsu. It's like, well, yeah, but we need to just become better movers. And the more connected we are to our body, and we can see yoga, and, if you want to do jiu-jitsu, also look at wrestling, look at Muay Thai, look at, mobility and the mace and the kettlebell and all these things that we can use to help develop our bodies and develop our mind-body connection. and learn, okay, this is a new way to move. And how does that movement apply to Jiu-Jitsu, to martial arts? So many times, like, you end up discovering that everyone's saying the same thing. The teachers are all saying the same thing. Your posture, your breath, your connection, the way you root your body into the ground, the way it starts from your toes all the way up, it's all the same. There is efficiency in movement that you will see in every single art, sport, whatever it may be. If you're moving, there is a search for efficiency. And if you study and you get out of your comfort zone and you learn and play with these other things, then you get back on the mats and you're that much better. And that's part of living the lifestyle, because, I'm building longevity, and that's my goal. At the end of it, timeless jiu-jitsu is, I want to be on the mats doing what I love for as long as possible. I'm coming towards the end of my professional career. I'm going to be 38 years old in a couple months. And, once I hit 40, I think I got a couple more good years left in me. But once I'm 40, you know what I mean? Of course, you're going to slow down. It's inevitable. We're all going to slow down. But how can we build a lifestyle and create longevity to where we can do what we love for as long as possible? That's really all I care about now at this point. I've done the world titles. I've competed at the highest level now for years. And, my motivation is different. Now I want to help others, and I want to freaking, be on those mats for as long as possible. And of course, I want to give the young guys a tough time. I want to push them and make them work. And the more I develop this lifestyle and practice these other things, the more I can see that I'm stronger, I'm more fit. It goes to everything, your diet, your recovery, and I'm just living a better martial arts lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's where timeless jiu-jitsu comes in. And then I'm going outside of my comfort zone and getting on shows like this and talking to you, people that aren't in the martial arts world, and trying to also expand on that last round, best round mindset as well. And, if I can bring people that would never even think about doing martial arts, and maybe make them think about it a little bit and take those steps into the doors of an academy and give it a try, then I'm also fulfilling my purpose on that end too.
For sure. I hope I'm modeling that too, because I never saw a mixed martial artist coming into my life as my partner. And, just keeping a real open mind about that. Like when you were talking about the beautiful violence and things like that, just keeping a real open mind and going, okay, well, what am I supposed to be shown here? What am I supposed to learn from this? And I think that's such a beautiful thing. And about timeless jiu-jitsu too, it came up for me just thinking about how we get older and the resistance to learning something new so many times. And we can experience that. I'm coming up on 50 very soon. And
oh my goodness.
Thank you.
You look fabulous.
Thank you. And, I think that I really try to model that behavior of just like being open to being a beginner. And not only does that keep us humble in the white belt kind of mentality that you were talking about, but also it's really good for our brains.
Yeah. Keeps us young.
It keeps you young. And if you can just embrace that, I'm going to fail at it or fail, quote unquote fail, or I'm just going to meet the challenges and I'm going to allow myself to be this beginner. There's such beauty and vibrancy within that.
Yes.
And that's a really cool message about this timeless jiu-jitsu too, that I see anyway.
That's one of the most beautiful things about being on the mats, because in any given class, everyone's in their gi, right? So they're not wearing their regular clothes. Everyone's in their gi, and
so it kind of levels the playing field, kind of a thing, right?
It totally does. And you have people from, like in my advanced class, we have some kids that have been training for years, right? And so they're like 13 years old, and they're in my advanced class with adults. And there's adults in this class that are all the way up to their 50s, approaching 60. And if my dad's on the mat, my dad's 62, 63. And so you literally have 50 years age gap, from the youngest to the oldest. And
that's awesome.
Everyone is one, everyone is just doing something they love, learning, being a student. And you really don't sense, of course, the 13-year-old you can see as a 13-year-old, but beyond that, like you really don't sense a lot of, oh, that's an older guy, or that's, you know, like everyone's almost kind of the same age, so to speak.
That's a trip.
You know, and that's where, you know, it really does keep you young. It keeps you young, you know, just always being a student and finding a new challenge. It pushes you, and you age differently that way, you know? And that's how all my friends are. Like some of my friends are in their 40s, 50s, and they are insanely active and just young and full of life. And I mean, you know, maybe they got a couple my shoulder or whatever, you know, but still, when in comparison to other people their age, I mean, there are people that are still like in their 20s that act like they're old, you know, and it's over. And I'm like, dude,
through my eyes, like, right? What are you talking about?
You know?
Yes.
And so when I see the people I'm around, I see how well they're aging. It's just like, it's motivating. It's inspiring. And I'm like, man, you know, my mobility teacher, his name is Cameron Shane, and people look him up. He's incredible, super inspiring person. He's 50, and what he can do, the way he can move, it is like, if you watch a video, you almost think,
I think I've been shown this guy. I think I've
you
seen
probably
him.
have.
Yeah. I think Justin's shown me. Yeah.
You probably think that it's like, you know, CGI or whatever. Like it's not real. Like, like what he's able to do. It doesn't look real. You know, his body control.
Yes. I've seen him.
He's a yoga master, and he's developed, you know, his own system of flowing and movement that is a beautiful dance. And I learned from him. He's my teacher. He's also my student. He does Jiu-Jitsu as well. And yeah, I mean, I look at that and I say, man, if I can do that when I'm 50, you know, I'm still going to be pretty tough, you know? And it's just inspiring. So I love being around those type of people, and you know, finding new mentors. You know, he's, like I said, he's my teacher. He actually found me, but I was open.
Yep.
I was conscious of an opportunity. I took it. I visited him, and we became brothers, and he then became my student too, because he's on the same wavelength. Oh, what can I learn from you? I love Jiu-Jitsu. And I kind of inspired him to really get back into martial arts, because he was a martial artist first. And so there's that, being a student and then also being a teacher, you know, once again, that circle. And that's kind of how I am with all my friends. We're all teachers and students of each other. We keep each other young. We learn from each other. And, you know, there's just so much to learn. Like there's not enough time. There's
not. And I've been talking about like not cramming it all in, just allow yourself to integrate it and be what it is. Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of time, we are getting close to time. And so I just like to open it up at the very end and ask, is there anything else you feel called to reiterate or share as we wrap up today?
Wow. Now you're putting some pressure on me.
I know I did. I should have given you a heads up before we started that I usually end like this, and no worries if not, you know, but anything that comes up, if there's anything else that you feel called to share, I'd like to give you a chance to do so.
Well, no, I really appreciate the opportunity, and, I think the conversation was amazing, and, I really, you know, kind of opened up, and I'm happy with everything I shared. I just hope that the listeners enjoy. And hopefully, you know, they find themselves maybe starting something new and having a different perspective and mindset on life, and they're able to stay positive and work on their mind, their self-talk. You know, I am working on a book. I guess I'll just say that straight up.
Please do. Yeah.
And, you know, I got a lot done during quarantine. It's a perfect time to start a book, right? Right. Because nothing else was going on. Then it's been a bit of a challenge to stay consistent with that work as things have gotten busy again. But I am working on it. And the goal is definitely to complete it this year, which I think is a very realistic goal. And so, at the end of the day, if everyone isn't sure where to start or not sure what books to read or where to find positivity or whatever, if they would be down to follow me and then and keep an eye out, I'll be putting out the information about the release of the book. And I think, of course, everything I talked about today, I'm going to have written out in the book and share more of my experiences in my career, my life. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to make a difference and make a positive impact. And that book is going to be my masterpiece at that time for that pursuit. And so hopefully the listeners out there would like to pick up the book and read it sometime.
You have such a wonderful way of making things clear. And it's probably from your years of, working with students and teaching. And so I can imagine that it will resonate with so many people. And thank you so much for sharing this all today.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful. And
that means a lot.
I came into this a little nervous and just, but I just tried to relax and go with the flow. And
we had a good flow.
We had a good flow. You're
it flew
so
by.
easy.
It flew by.
It did. And so thank you so much. And we'll put up links to everything so people can find you. And anyway, thank
awesome.
you
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Oh, massive thank you to you for being here until now. Hell yeah. And to Rafael for being here, because that was just so powerful for me. And I meant it. I guess I'm going to maybe take up jiu-jitsu now. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really thinking about it. Anyway, I'll keep you posted on how that goes. I liked that he brought up a book that he keeps with him all the time. I have not read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and I'm going to add it to my stack. So we were talking a little bit before we started today. I was talking with the team over here, Colton and Joseph, and we were talking about the book by Stephen Pressfield that I have mentioned in maybe the Satsang episode, which was number 9, which is... He just most recently wrote The Artist's Journey, but we were talking about the War of Art and what a beautiful book that is and what an easy read it is. So that's one that lives in my nightstand. But one of the ones I'm reading right now is The Artist's Journey by him, which is his latest. And they're like literally like a chapter is like a paragraph. It's like one page, and it's just so easy to read and digest. And that's my kind of read. So I wanted to tell you how I read, and of course everyone's different, but this is just how I do it. And I would love to hear how you do it if you have a certain way that you read. And I try to do this every day. Lately, in the past few months, I feel like I've been a little busier. And so I'm doing this probably 3 to 4 times a week, hopefully. I don't hold myself to a really tough standard. More often than not is always what I'm preaching. Can you do it more often than not? I think that's a beautiful thing. So I keep a stack right there by my chair next to where I meditate and everything. And I just sit down there every day. I have a notebook. I write 5 things I'm grateful for. And then I also have a stack of books that I read between say 1 to 3 pages per day. And currently I'm going to add that Think and Grow Rich book, because it sounds incredible. And I'm reading The Artist's Journey by Stephen Pressfield, which obviously that's the one we were just mentioning. Super easy read. One that stays all the time is Happy Pocket Full of Money, which is a real weird book if you haven't read it. And I'm on about my 5th time through. And it's got affirmations all through it. So, I'm totally into it. And it says, I am wealth, I'm abundance, I'm joy, throughout the whole book. And it just in between paragraphs, just there it is in bold type. And I say it out loud every single time that it comes up. And it is it's got some quantum physics in it. And David Cameron Giocondi, I think is his name, that wrote it. It's fascinating. So highly recommended. And right now I'm also reading Existential Kink. I'm finishing Existential Kink by Carolyn Elliott. And let me just send out in the universe, I would love for her to be on this show, because that book is fucking fascinating. And I'm finishing, or I'm still in one by Ram Dass called Still Here. I've talked about this before. I've read from it before. It's really written for like elderly people, but I didn't know that when I bought it. And so it's all about aging. And it's really interesting actually to think of aging in the way that he posits it. And I mean, he talks everything about like from sex to feeling like you don't have an identity. I mean, it's really interesting. I'm enjoying it. And then I'm reading the second time through Jen Sincero, You Are a Badass at Making Money, because I need it. And then I'm also reading Ego is the Enemy. The name of the author is escaping me right now, but Ego is the Enemy. And I think that's it. So, it's cool to like, I don't know, it makes it easier on me. Like I release this kind of stress of like finishing a book or anything like that. Like I feel like I can digest it better. I can integrate it into my life better and have a fuller grip on what they're trying to tell me. So that maybe that's just how my brain works, but I wanted to share it with you and just put it out there that maybe there's another way to do it in case you might be hooked on that old paradigm of, I got to read this one book all the way through. Well, you can make up your own rules. There's no right way and no wrong way. There's your way. And so all that said, I hope that, you can find time to, I don't know, just get quiet and integrate all those beautiful messages that Rafael had today. So many. And I'm so stoked to be able to share this with you and with everyone today. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much for being here. Business, you can subscribe to my newsletter. That's at amyedwards.com. I will give you first dibs and first info on these podcasts, and I'll go a little bit deeper on what comes up for me around each episode. And they're very simple. And I'm not really hitting you up for anything, at least not yet. So they're just a simple message with links about the podcast and the guest. And so please subscribe. And there's also freebies when you do subscribe. There's a meditation you can download on my website, an MP3. There's some worksheets and stuff like that. Just easy, simple stuff. Also, subscribe, rate, review. If you have it in your heart to just send a simple review or a 5 stars, that would mean the world to me. I'm super grateful every time we grow, and it's just one step in front of the other. And if you want to share it with a friend, awesome. Love that. Love that so much. So big thanks to the team at Hot Pie Media, especially these guys that provide so much support for me and bringing these to life. Just incredibly grateful. And huge thanks to our guest today, Rafael Lovato Jr. Look him up, follow him. What a powerful message that he has to share and a life that is an example for us all. So anything I'm forgetting? Is that good? Hopefully. Thumbs up. All right. A thumbs up is good. So here's to you in the week ahead. Remember to just get quiet when you need it. Take a breath. It's all okay. Shift your perspective a little bit. Maybe you can find that. And I love you. Peace, love, health, wealth, joy, bliss, all the good stuff to you and yours. Till next time. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked this show, please rate and review. It totally matters. And I encourage you to spread the love too and share this episode with a friend if you feel called. Find me and my newsletter sign up at amyedwards.com. And you can also connect with me on Instagram at RealAmyEdwards or in Clubhouse at Amy Edwards, or write to me. It's amy@amyedwards.com.